Thank you. A boy and his violin. That's it. The one tucked into the side of the other. Both small, unremarkable. Until one of them moves, the boy lifts his arm or the violin floats up to kiss his chin. A man can vanish between the downstroke and the first note's sigh. From one word to the next, a wink and a nod. He'll evaporate under a lady's glance as her smile slides across the room. But a boy looks out from the backs of his eyes. A boy stays where you put him, invisible, until you hiccup, and suddenly he's there. The boy who first played that violin in the opening salvo of the Beethoven sonata you just heard is somewhat of a mystery to us. His life is an improbable story. As Robert mentioned, we know a little bit about him, that his name was George Augustus Polgreen Bridgetower, a lot of name, and that he was born somewhere around 1780, that his mother was white from what is now Poland, and that his father was a black man who called himself the African Prince. George proved to be a musical prodigy, and by the age of 9, he was playing his way across Europe from a Hungarian castle where the great composer Franz Haydn actually discovered the child genius in the servants' quarters. He played across Europe, all the way to Paris, to London's royal court. But his greatest triumph came in his early 20s when he traveled to Vienna and inspired Ludwig van Beethoven, arguably the greatest composer of all times, to write his most stunning violin sonata for his new lunatic mulatto, as he called him, friend. But there, George Bridgetower's extraordinary success story ends, although he would go on to live for another half century. And all because Beethoven rededicated the sonata, this glorious piece of music, to another violinist, Rudolf Kreutzer, who not only never played the Kreutzer sonata, but declared it unplayable. Got him. So what happened? You know, what happened here? You know, that's what started me on a journey that took me back to my own classical roots, because I'm a lapsed cellist to my shame. It also, though, led me into contemporary musicians like Boyd Tinsley, who'll be joining me here in a short while on this stage. But between there and here, there is this book, which seemed to take forever to get finished, and so I'm glad to be celebrating it here with you tonight, Sonata Mulattica. So let me read the first poem in the book, which is called The Bridge Tower, which is how I refer to the sonata from now on. If was at the beginning. If he had been older, if he hadn't been dark, brown eyes ablaze in that remarkable face, if he had not been so gifted, so young a genius with no time to grow up, if he hadn't grown up undistinguished to an obscure old age, if the piece had actually been, as Kreutzer exclaimed, unplayable, even after our man had played it and for years no one else was able to follow, so that the composer's fury would have raged for naught and wagging tongues could keep alive the original dedication from the title page he shredded. Oh, if only Ludwig van Beethoven had been better looking or cleaner or a real aristocrat, fun instead of the unexceptional fawn from some Dutch farmer. If his ears had not already begun to squeal and whistle, if he hadn't drunk his wine from lead cups, if he could have found true love, then the story would have held. In 1803, George Bridgetower, son of Friedrich Augustus, the African prince, and Maria Anna Sowinki of Biala in Poland, traveled from London to Vienna, where he met the great master who would stop work on his third symphony to write a sonata for his new friend, to premiere triumphantly on May 24th, whereupon the composer himself leapt up from the piano to embrace his lunatic mulatto. Who knows what would have followed? They might have palled around some, just a couple of wild and crazy guys strutting the town like rock stars, hitting the bars for a few beers, a few laughs, instead of falling out over a girl nobody remembers, nobody knows. Then this bright-skinned papa's boy could have sailed his 15-minute fame straight into the record books, where instead of a Regina Carter or Aaron Dworkin or Boyd Tinsley sprinkled here and there, we would find rafts of black kids scratching out scales on their matchbox violins so that someday they might play the impossible. Beethoven's Sonata No. 9 in A major, Opus 47, also known as the Bridgetower. Well, you know that, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.